Good evening, everyone. My name is Shane Rodriguez. I'm a professor here at the Massachusetts School of Law. I want to welcome everybody again to this evening's program entitled Small Business Management, a two-part series. My short but informative presentation will focus on business security and threats to the workplace. Generally, when we talk about business security, we think about the practice of protecting a business's assets, their sensitive information, and their operations from threats and risks of either internet crimes, cyber crimes, or computer crimes. And I'm going to focus on those types of computer-related crimes in my presentation. So the goal of any business security should be to ensure the continuity and the integrity of the organization. And I have some ideas at the end just how we can do that with respect to mitigating and protecting the business's assets, their information, and their operations. So with that as a backdrop, I'm going to turn to my presentation. Right, and there it again, it's business security and threats to the workplace. So we're going to talk first about internet crimes. And when we talk about internet crimes, what we're talking about are internet crimes is any crime or illegal online activity committed on the internet, through the internet, or using the internet. So what are cyber crimes? A cyber crime is any criminal act that involves a laptop, a tablet, desktop, even a cell phone that's connected to the internet, right? And we use the internet. And then lastly, computer crimes. At its basic level, a computer crime involves the use of a computer or a computer-like device in the furtherance of some criminal activity. Now you're saying, okay, well, so what are some examples of each of these? So when I look at the next slide, the Department of Justice divides computer-related crimes into three categories. And all three of these are part of what we just talked about when we talked about internet crimes, cyber crimes, and computer crimes. So let's look at the computer as the object of a crime. This category refers to primarily to the theft of computer hardware or software. So what we're talking about here is this could be someone inside the business, it could be a third party who goes in and steals parts from the computers. This could be the RAM, meaning the random access memory. It could be the CPU, which is the central processing unit, or it could even be theft of the hard drive, which is the storage device. The second type of computer-related crime is what we refer to as the computer is the subject of a crime. And this category of computer-related crime encompasses any attempt to interfere with the lawful services and activities provided by computers and their service. So what are we talking about here? What we're talking about here is cyber attacks, right? We're talking about people who launch an attack on the servers or their computers and prevents them from doing their business. So we're talking about phishing and those types of activities as well. And then the last type of computer-related crimes is what we call the computer as the instrument used to commit a crime. And here, this includes traditional types of crimes, such as identity theft, maybe even child pornography, copyright infringement, mail and wire fraud. So these all are, like I said, as we talked about earlier, these deal with internet crimes, computer crimes, cyber attacks. And again, I refer to them as computer-related crimes. So I want to go to the next slide and give you some examples of these three types of computer-related crimes. And I'm not going to read them each, but you can take a look at them behind me on the slide. Each one of these represents one of the different types of computer-related crimes that I just mentioned to you. All right, so now we've talked about what the problem is, these computer-related crimes and how they are how they are a threat to the business's security. I want to look at some of these staggering facts just to show you the severity of the problem and the issue here with respect to the threat to computer-related crimes to the business. Look at this first slide. 75% of employees have stolen from their their employer at least once. 75%. And 1 in 3 employees have reported stealing at least twice. Now, this stealing can range from a number of different things. Like I said, it can range from computer-related crimes to somebody walking out with stationery from the business. Another stat is around 64% of the employees have admitted to stealing from small businesses. And again, we're talking about employees stealing from their business. So right within the business, this is where much of the threat is coming from, employees. Businesses lose up to 5% of their annual revenue to theft. Right? So we talk about losses, right, to our assets, to our inventory. This is a significant problem. On average, there are over $50 billion in losses due to employee theft in a single year nationwide. And then the last slide says a staggering 90% of theft-related losses are committed by employees. Here's the other thing that we need to talk about with respect to employees. It's not just related to employees or relegated to employees. This can also be third parties. And when we talk about third parties, these are people who conspire probably with some of the employees to commit the crimes, these computer-related crimes, or these can be third parties who have no contact with the employees, but somehow they have focused on a particular business and they're going to commit a crime against that particular business. Also, something that we need to think about is this issue of fraud. And it says typically it takes about 14 months for fraud to be detected. Now you ask, well, why is that? Well, I'll give you an answer. Detecting computer fraud often takes a long time because of several factors. And those factors include the vast volume of data that needs to be analyzed, the complex and evolving nature of fraudulent tactics, the difficulty in distinguishing legitimate activity from suspicious behavior, and the need for manual investigation to confirm potential fraud, all of which can create significant delays in identifying fraudulent activity. So now that we've talked about the severity and the scope of the issues, I want to talk about some ideas I have to prevent and mitigate these threats to a particular business, and particularly related to computer crimes. Now, I have to tell you, my hero tonight, Professor Colby Clements, because she has done a boatload of the work for me in terms of issues like when we talk about commit to employee background checks. She did a fantastic job talking about that. So I'm just going to let that one be because she's already discussed with you about the need and the issue when it comes to negligent hiring. It applies here as well. But you do need to commit to employee background checks. You might want to also consider purchasing a fidelity bond for employees who are entrusted with property within the business, so that if these employees commit fraudulent acts like embezzlement or other type of property that they're entrusted with, it protects or offers protection to the employer against losses that are caused by an employee's fraudulent or dishonest conduct. Another idea that I have in terms of mitigating, again, these losses to either assets or our inventory or our services is coming up with a robust computer policy, IT program. And so there we talk about control computer and software roles to mitigate inventory of cybercrime and cyber theft. Another idea that I have to mitigate these types of crimes is to safeguard your business your business with finances in terms of crime insurance. So safeguard your finances with crime insurance. And here it tells you this crime insurance helps to protect your business from major losses caused by third parties, as I talked about, or even employee theft. Right? So you can never have enough protection. You may think that, hey, I've got an insurance policy, but again, there are different specific types of policies that can help protect against these losses. Obtain a cybercrime insurance policy. And again, a cyber insurance policy is a type of insurance that protects a business from financial losses resulting from cyber attacks, data breaches, or other cyber incidents covering costs like data recovery, legal expenses, customer notifications, and business interruption caused by a cyber security breach. And another one is investigate the matter. Again, Professor Colby Clements talked about that. When you have an issue that's gone on in the business in terms of some sort of theft, you have to investigate. And when you investigate, it has to be a fair and neutral investigation. And you definitely want to carefully investigate the matter. Now, once you've done that, now you need to consider whether you're going to bring in an employee and have a conversation with them regarding the suspicion of the employee theft. And again, Professor Colby Clements has already talked about this in terms of either suspending or terminating employee and the considerations that you need to think about if you do meet with an employee and then you later decide that you are going to terminate that employee. You also need to consider a law enforcement response, and this can cause some problems because for the business, they could potentially lose control of the investigation in terms of what's going on internally within that small business. So it says while a law enforcement response is an option, to be mindful that there may be some state and or federal reporting requirements, and that's true. Think about the severity and the significance of the loss. And if we're talking about a significant amount of cash, well, then that business may have an internal reporting system problem because now they're going to have to report that. And when they report that, and if it's a significant financial loss, they may also not only have to report it to the state, but they also may have to report it to the federal government. And in addition, you may also have to report that to the IRS for potential tax fraud implications. So again, this is more now of your business in terms of the issues that are going on inside of your business now where you're reporting it to state and local government entities. Also, it's important to note that the involvement of law enforcement can have a significant impact on your business, and this is true. The more significant the loss or the theft, well, your first step may be to call law enforcement, but when you do that, they're going to want to conduct an investigation, and they're going to want to control that investigation. And by doing that, that means you turning over business records. That means you turning over internal documents to law enforcement. That may mean that law enforcement wants to interview your employees about the potential theft. And again, when that happens, you potentially lose control of this investigation within the business. You also want to consider filing an insurance claim. And again, more reasons for that internal reporting system as well. Some other ideas I have in terms of mitigating the risk is to use an identity theft protection service. And these actively monitor your credit reports and scour the web for your personal information. Who wouldn't want to do something like this? It just makes good sense and it's good business practice. Set strong passwords. We're all guilty of this. I've got so many passwords I can't even keep control of them. And then when I get an alert telling me that there's potential fraud and I got to change my password, it's a nightmare. And then what do? I create a new password, but then I use it for everything. So we're all guilty of this, but you need someone in IT to be able to take that role and make sure that all the computers have safe, strong passwords. Also using two-factor authentication. Sometimes that can be a pain in the neck, but again, it's helping you to protect your business so that people aren't being able to then log into your computer system and launch these types of attacks. Again, review your credit report and bank statements to make sure, and this also helps with that finding out fraud more earlier so that you can address that particular issue. Again, I've talked about having a robust policy. Conduct occasional audits to have third parties review your records. I think that's a good business practice as well. And then again, I got to thank Professor Colby Cummings because you see my last idea is to explore your legal options with respect to an experienced attorney. And she talked about, again, firing. I'll also tell you that in our last business seminar, Professor Colby Clements, again, stand on the shoulders of giants, she talked about ethical considerations when advising a corporate client. And that was a fantastic presentation that she gave. So if you're interested in going back and listening to that, again, you can log on to the MSL website and go to our business law section, and you'll be able to look at that particular information and hear that particular presentation.